Hey there, my name is Amy Fox. I own Fox Farm and Forage, and that is a business that I have growing mushrooms. A lot of people like to know exactly where their food comes from, so I'm going to give you a little tour to explain what I do to you. So behind me, you will see I've got a little refrigerator, and this is where it all begins. This all begins with, as you see, a variety of petri dishes. This is agar where I grow the cultures. And right here is a computer monitor that happens to monitor CO2, which is carbon dioxide. Mushrooms crank out a lot of CO2, which is unhealthy for us humans. I'll get into that a little bit more in the tent. But mushrooms also thrive on it, so you have to have a very delicate balance. Mushrooms put out a lot of spores. Again, great for growing mushrooms, not good for our lungs. So here we have one of our numerous HEPA filters. So even though I have another respiratory mask that is a little bit more intense for the purposes of this tour, I'm going to wear this so you can hear me better. Down here is a humidity monitor. That's a little low because I've just gone in and out, but it'll recover. So I'm going to go into the room, so bear with me. Alright, so here you notice if I push on this plastic, that's because this room is under positive pressure. I'll explain a little bit more when I get in. Okay, so as I mentioned, the room is under positive pressure. And the reason why is because we pump in filtered air that is humidified as well as temperature controlled. So it's pushing in air, but then also we have an exhaust which pushes out that CO2 that I talked about, as well as the spores. And we have a scrubber on the exhaust so we aren't contaminating the environment. Down there, I have a CO2 meter that allows me to know what my CO2 level is at all times. On the shelf above that CO2 monitor right here, even though these don't reside in here, I figured for the purpose of this tour I put them here. I mentioned the petri dishes where I grow cultures directly from agar because I make my own spawn, came out of the fridge. Now, what I do is I inoculate a little bit into organic rye grain berries. Now, this particular jar just has where I did a grain-to-grain transfer, so you'll see them kind of sprouting out. The basic idea is it's a sterilized jar of grain that I transfer the agar to. The colonized agar. Then, it colonizes the grain, and this is what I use to inoculate organic wheat straw that you see in these buckets. So what I do, because I like to be environmentally responsible, I utilize a bucket grow method as opposed to this long bag of plastic that is a one-time use. And what I do is I stage these buckets based on date, and I always monitor them constantly. And one of the ways I monitor them is, I'll turn a bucket so that you can see. These were just packed recently. And actually, that's not a good example. Let me find a better one because I need to retag that one anyway. Alright, so a prime example is of these lovely brown oyster mushrooms that I'm growing right now. So I have the date that I packed the bucket and then exactly where the substrate came from. And I also have a bucket number assigned. Those grain jars that you see, I have numbers assigned to those as well as to my agar. So if there ever was a problem, which I never would anticipate, I can always determine the source. This is important for food safety. So I've got a variety of oyster mushrooms that are growing. A lot of things are not fruiting right now, but as you can see, I have a variety of oyster mushrooms as well as these really cool golden oyster mushrooms. I'm trialing those right now. I'm very excited about them. And these buckets back here, I just packed them, so while they're over here colonizing the buckets, they don't need to be in the area where I'm about to harvest. I also grow lion's mane. This is a really cool mushroom. As a matter of fact, this particular one back here is showing a more mature species. And I mean, excuse me, not species. You can edit this, right? Mm-hmm. This one shows a more mature example of the fruit. Whereas down here, you can see little palms that are about to push through. They're a very interesting mushroom to say the least because they taste just like crab and have the texture of it as well. This room is actually just starting out. My husband, who is my engineer, built this room and I really appreciate it. But I'm in the process of packing this room chock full. I have several varieties of oyster mushrooms, the lion's mane, warm shiitake, black poplar, as well as king oyster, and some other things that I have in the works. So if you're interested in purchasing mushrooms, please come visit me at the Apex Farmers Market. You can contact me directly on my Facebook page, Fox Farm and Forage LLC on Facebook, or on my actual website, foxfarmforage.com. And then also, if you're a chef and you have a restaurant and you're interested in purchasing, you can contact me for that purpose as well. I hope you enjoyed your food tour where I showed you exactly where Fox Farm and Forage mushrooms come from.